For this last assignment for new media tools, I will be using the RISE self-reflection model to reflect on myself and the projects and assignments that I completed this month in new media tools. My attitude, logic, and behaviors influence my projects because, well, they influence my projects in a way that I already knew that they would affect my projects. Like, I always try to approach every project and assignment and group activity with an open mind and a great attitude, so that way I can be more pleasant as a peer and colleague and someone to work with. I feel like I would have received a better grade in a particular assignment. Well, I didn't really receive any bad grades on any assignments, but particularly I remember at the beginning, one of the first assignments that I completed in new media tools, that I made the mistake of not. Well, I listened to what he said and I understand what you meant, Pete, when you told me to make sure I label my links when I embed them in my assignment, but I still did it anyways, and I still didn't do it anyway, and I was like, probably one of the first times I ever had to do that so far in the program, so I just learned from that. So further on, I just remember to do it every time and remember to follow the instructions and make sure I read it. And I would also make sure I looked at my other peers in the class's assignments, like how they labeled theirs, to make sure I would remember to label it, make sure I'm turning in a screenshot or a link or whichever I'm supposed to turn in. I use my logic a lot because I have a prior knowledge of a lot of the programs that we work with in the media tools, so that allowed me to be able to not only bring my projects to another level, but also help my peers and help my fellow friends in the classroom with their assignments, which I don't mind. I always love helping others. As I started working on my projects, I realized I wanted to know more about certain programs themselves. Like, I really enjoyed using going through the quick skills labs because I don't really know After Effects that well, and I don't know InDesign that well. So I would, it made me prompt me to do more research and read articles and stuff about how to do stuff. If I didn't know how to do it, I would just research it and figure it out myself or watch tutorials. The resources that we had available to us on the Assembly WebMix were very helpful. I used the Assembly WebMix like every time I would complete an assignment, just because I would have all those resources on hand and ready to use if needed. If I had more time, I would have. Well, if I would have had more time in this class, if I would have had it for longer and been able to do that, I would have even further brought out my creative skill in my assignments and in my projects. I feel like I could have demonstrated my skill more, demonstrated what I know how to do, and use some of the assets that I had already curated and things I already knew how to do in my projects. I could have showed myself more, showed my artistic skill and my creativity. How does my experience this month inform and support my professional objectives? This really helped me learn more about the quality of the curated assets that you use in comparison to the quantity of them, because just because you have more assets, I have a lot of stock images, I have a lot of stock footage, I have a lot of vector flaticons that I can use, doesn't mean that I should always use all of them. This made me think a lot about, it made me learn more about piecing together inspiration boards and mood boards and style guides to kind of piece together my projects more, bring the best assets instead of just, I know I have a lot of stock images here, so I'm just going to choose some stock images, I'm just going to choose some of this, I'm going to choose some of that. It made me really think and plan out my projects more so than I would have before. I already planned out my project, but this made me a little more open-minded to other resources, and it also opened my eyes to resources that I would have not otherwise used. And that is my self-reflection for this month's course.